Marking the 40th anniversary of the franchise, this movie sees the return of another Series 1 antagonist, this time Kyosuke Mamo. Well, only in a sense, as while he's still a time traveller, this one's from the future, similar to the manga version, and it's treated as the gang's first encounter with him. Shido Nakamura voices him this time round, replacing Series 1's Iemasa Kayumi. Directing this time is Toshihiko Masada, with Yoshifumi Fukushima and Yuka Yamada serving as writers. Two candidates for leading lady come to mind here, the first being Fujiko's ancestor Ofumi, voiced by Mari Sekine. Second up, we have Hoko Kuwashima voicing Iseka. As with Return of the Magician, the ending is another remix of Series 2's love theme, this time using the version with vocals. As Fujiko takes some time to work on a tan out at sea, Lupin and Jigen are stuck searching beneath, finding the head of a large statue. They're on the hunt for some kind of key to time travel, using the clues of a prophecy detailing eyes pointing to heaven, a dragon horn, a blue flame, and a stone known as the White Tamiyura. Jigen's usual complaints are cut short when Zenigata has the area surrounded. Resurfacing, they make an escape across the water. Boats aren't really made for road travel, however, so they head to where Lupin's car is parked. With Goemon waiting, the gang run into a police blockade. They head in another direction, but then things start getting strange as surrounding drivers start disappearing from their cars. The empty cars pile up, seemingly guiding them to a lighthouse on a foggy cliff. The police are stopped when a bridge the gang cross vanishes. Not that it stops Zenigata, who makes use of a nearby bike. The fog gives way to a blinding light, revealing the man who led the gang to the lighthouse, one Kyosuke Mamo. Activating some kind of sonic weapon and making a fence disappear, he sends the gang over a cliff. Zenigata catches up as everyone falls into a portal. He lands in a house while the others get caught in the middle of a battle. Goemon deflects some incoming arrows, realising they were poisoned. Kyosuke appears before them, welcoming them to 500 years in the past. A group of soldiers then surround them, accusing them of being members of the Norse clan. Jigen fires off a shot to ward them away and allow the gang to escape. They don't get far as they end up getting stuck in a swamp. The soldiers return, giving them the choice of dying in the swamp or being taken into custody. The gang's weapons are taken, Lupin's aside as he lost it in the swamp, and they're escorted to the soldiers' main base, revealed to be the still intact statue they found underwater. As they're locked up, the guards outside the cell disappear as Kyosuke once again emerges. He tells Lupin he uses the time machine to kill people's ancestors to make them disappear, and he's out for revenge due to something Lupin III did to him in the 29th century. Lupin suspects it was over a woman, and Kyosuke's reaction confirms as much. He could kill Lupin right here, but decides to leave him in the past to see him die in the midst of the ongoing battle. Iseka, ruler of the gang's current captors, the Shine, is shown the weapons and advised to study them to fight the Norse. After some testing, they decide to enlist the gang's help in using them, but they've already escaped. One soldier, a Norse spy targeting the gang's weapons, also makes an attack on Iseka, who wants to de-escalate things with the Norse's leader, Eshika. Thankfully the gang arrive and Goemon takes care of him. The gang try to explain their situation, but Hasama, Shine's chancellor, is still suspicious. Meanwhile, Zenigata's being held prisoner himself and doesn't grasp that he's in the past just yet. The gang get escorted off the island, with Lupin noticing the eyes of the statue potentially linking to the riddle Fujiko told him. The boy ferrying them, Takaya, tells them the eyes are lit up by a source of fire they call the Kamibi. He also tells them the water recedes once a month and reveals a path to the castle. Fending off an attack from the Norse, Takaya takes them to his house. Takaya tells the gang his father was killed about 2 years prior. While he doesn't know anything about the riddle, he suggests the blue flame might be to do with Iseka's necklace. They head back to the island, but a woman also has the necklace in her sights. Lupin chases after her, only to discover she looks like Fujiko. He's able to grab the necklace from her as the Shine's guards arrive. The necklace disappears as Lupin inspects it. Kyosuke appears again and tosses it his way, saying it's just a necklace. He also confirms the woman is indeed Fujiko's ancestor, implying that he plans to target her before disappearing. He's chasing the same riddle as Lupin, wanting complete control over time travel to himself, suspecting someone else was able to do so when he saw a rock disappear before his eyes. Lupin decides to have Goemon work as Isaka's bodyguard to gain info, seeing as he blends in best, being Mr. Edo period and all. Yes, I know, this is Sengoku period. Isaka tells Goemon how she was once taken captive by the Norse, and came to learn they were struggling due to the lack of kamibi. She wants to share it with them, but the Norse's Chancellor Obitaki keeps pushing for war. Revealing the source to be one big natural gas reserve, her method of sharing it is hoping to extend the Shine's pipelines across the water. Obitaki's taken Zenigata's gun, revealing the Norse as his captors. Jigen, meanwhile, prepares for any upcoming fights by forging some bullets. Lupin decides to ask around town for any clues to the riddle, but turns up more or less empty. He spots Fujiko's ancestor following him, but she refuses his offer of a team-up. Meeting back with the others, Lupin suspects the White Tamayura will be the key to figuring out this riddle. Goemon's interested in helping Isaka with peace talks, so Lupin decides to go along, helped by Takeya mentioning a white bow that once belonged to his grandfather that might be a clue. Lupin calls out the ancestral stalker, who was listening in on the conversation. Introducing herself as Ofumi, she decides to team up for now as they raid the Norse base. Teaming up with Goemon, she helps distract the guards at the main gate. This allows Lupin to take out a guard's quarters. Goemon finds Eshika, hoping to settle things peacefully. Ofumi, Lupin and Jigen explore the base for the bow, but she soon splits off and leaves them to some of the guards still on patrol. With the fort on alert and Eshika told of Iseka's plans, Goemon withdraws. As they escape, Lupin finds Zenigata and brings him up to speed, not that he believes he's in the past. Goemon decides to hang back to give everyone else a chance to get out. Meanwhile, Ofumi hides and watches Obitaki. Takeya emerges, planning to kill him as revenge for his father. Obitaki still has Zenigata's gun, but Ofumi soon jumps in to help. Back at Takeya's, he reveals the bow was a lie, and he was the former Norse Chancellor's son. Obitaki killed his father to gain power, and his mother didn't last too long while they were on the run either. Ofumi tries to tell him that revenge won't fix anything, but it falls on deaf ears. On the way back to the Shine, Kyosuke appears and warns Iseka will die in 3 days if the riddle isn't solved, and he'll target Ofumi following that. Lupin jogs around, but as Jigen tries to calmly reason with him, his eye turns to the kamibi, realising the meaning of the blue flames. He then has Ofumi free Zenigata, who almost immediately drives into the swamp on his hunt for Lupin. Thankfully, Ofumi and Takeya are on hand to pull him out, and just like Lupin, he mistakes her for Fujiko. Lupin heads to the kamibi's main cave. He spots a white rock and clears the cave by claiming there's been a gas leak. He then goads Zenigata into chasing him, knowing he came to the cave courtesy of Takeya. Jigen moves for the rock, but Kyosuke steals it. It's another fake, and Lupin's already got what he needs, demonstrating his abilities by making Zenigata disappear. Kyosuke panics and searches through his own timeline for any signs of interference. Heading back to Lupin, he demands to know what the secret is. Turns out it's all smoke and mirrors. Rather literally in the case of the former, not that Lupin divulges that. Lupin negotiates the rock for the time machine and Ofumi's life. He double-crosses Kyosuke, seeing as the rock's tied to string. Unfortunately, Ofumi ends up revealing Lupin's trick when she moves in to attack. On top of that, the guards have made their return, realising there was no gas leak. Ofumi decides to go off on her own once everyone returns to Takeya's house. Kyosuke, meanwhile, brings him some future firepower to aid Obitaki in the upcoming fight. Ofumi spots this and rushes back to inform Lupin. Takaya realises the battle will take place the next day, as the water recedes the morning after the full moon. Eshika wonders if it really has to come down to fighting, but Obitaki simply tells him he's handling things. Zenigata's gone from being imprisoned by the Norse to being imprisoned by the Shine. Thanks to a message from Lupin, Goemon heads to Iseka to warn her about the battle. Hasama decides he's ready to fight, putting the two of them under arrest. As Lupin and Jigen watch him rallying the troops, Lupin suggests heading to the treasure room. As predicted, the battles begin when the water recedes. Kyosuke gives some extra aid by blasting the Shine's gate. Zenigata gets caught up in the crossfire, but he's more concerned than not complying with gun laws. Priorities aside, he does take the chance to escape thanks to his cage door getting shot up. Taking out an attacker, he spots the bike he was using in the middle of the battle. Lupin's attention turns to the statue's head and he tells Jigen to follow his lead. Thanks to the chaos outside, Goemon and Iseka manage to escape. Iseka heads out to the top of the statue, aiming to put a stop to the fight with words. She turns her attention to Obitaki, but he counters by having a soldier shoot at her. Goemon's on hand to deflect it, of course, and he closes in on Obitaki, disarming everyone in the way. Inside the treasure room, Lupin finds a white stone after rearranging various items. He tells Jigen to handle Kyosuke while he heads outside. Eshika spots Kyosuke and tries to convince him to help end the fighting. Meanwhile, Ofumi gets caught between Obitaki and Takaya, who's making another attempt at revenge. She reiterates that revenge won't help things as Obitaki runs. Kyosuke fires off a rocket despite Eshika trying to de-escalate things. Lupin shows off the rock to Kyosuke, having apparently solved the riddle. Kyosuke takes the bait and travels back to when they find the rock. He pushes Lupin away, knocking him into some of the treasure, but thanks to Lupin and Jigen's furniture rearrangement, causes a domino effect and ends up knocking Kyosuke on the head. Lupin reveals he knew nothing about the riddle as he takes Kyosuke's time machine instead. Kyosuke fires at him, hitting the same rock he witnessed disappear. Kyosuke's rocket from earlier hit the gas pipelines, causing the main tower to start exploding. As Goemon rushes to help Iseka, Kyosuke takes Ofumi hostage, causing Lupin to reappear. Fortunately, a team effort leads to his threat being disabled. The castle collapses, with both Obitaki and Hasama getting caught in the blast. Goemon moves to save Iseka but is too late. A light erupts from the water below as the time machine emerges with Lupin and Iseka inside, revealing the time machine itself to be the treasure. As thanks, Iseka gives Goemon the blue flame necklace. The gang finally head back to the present, Zenigata just barely following. They emerge just before the start of everything and land in the sea. The door won't open, so they're forced to cut through, meaning they don't get to steal stuff throughout time. Swimming back to Fujiko's boat, they drive off to escape the upcoming police force. Lupin notices Fujiko is wearing Iseka's necklace, which she's now claiming is a family heirloom. Goemon checks and realises Ofumi must have stolen it. As they head off, everyone starts pondering the time travel's link to the treasure, but there's no time to worry about that now. Post-credits, we also see that Lupin III's crime was indeed dating a woman Kyosuke was interested in. Up to you to decide if her name is Fujiko XXXI. Much as the overarching conflict is basically another battle for resources, it is nice we get a change of setting for this one, so it's not just another corporate antagonist. That said, there isn't really too much to Obitaki beyond being evil and wanting the resource all to himself. Same sort of goes for Hasama, who just kind of turns on Iseka and dies. But oh well. The real act when it comes to antagonists here was Kyosuke Mamo himself anyway. While it's not the same one, he's very much the same in character. Gloating and menacing while he has a time machine, hilariously pathetic without it. somewhat hilariously pathetic with it too, given Lupin rightfully guessed why he's doing what he's doing. The time travel in the original episode was a bit messy, given that killing people should have more of a knock-on effect than it did, and, well, this movie is consistent with that, I suppose. Granted, as I said back then, I tend to get a bit nitpicky when it comes to time travel rules, so it's more of a me problem than anything. Iseka and Ofumi aren't too bad as characters. The latter does seem to have at least a few traits that you could see in Fujiko, such as leaving Lupin and Jigen behind while she tries to take care of her own thing. Not quite as backstabbing, given she's not quite as into jewels as her descendants, necklace aside. It does feel like they could have done something to explain why she was so hell-bent on trying to stop Takeo from committing revenge though, as his target wasn't exactly the most sympathetic person. Iseka and Goemon have a nice enough dynamic, as she's pretty much what he looks for in a woman, and also no betrayal unlike, say, Kikyo. Plus, of course, he's the one who adapts most easily to the time period anyway. The whole thing with Eshika and the Norse could probably have had a bit more to it, as we don't really get too much beyond he wants peace and so does she, but their chancellors aren't willing to stop and talk. Complaints aside, as a movie it's an improvement over the last couple at least. Next time, Lupin and his impersonators rival those of Elvis as we see a conflict of green versus red. Until then,